Patrons, subscribers, fans, followers, friends, and family from around the world. I'm Jeremy Alexander Newsom. This is Shaun Bennett. He's Brian Masterson, and this is the Fourth Industrial Revolution podcast. And today we're discussing time with a genius.
I wouldn't describe it that way, but thank you.
I'm entitled to my opinion of you, my man. I'm entitled to my opinion.
You absolutely are.
So, but is your book out yet?
Not out yet, no.
Okay, all right.
I hound him every week.
He hounds me every week.
I go to sleep at night.
What's the name of the book again?
The title has yet to be determined.
That's the one with the hang-ups.
Okay.
Titles are big deals.
That's part of the issue.
Yeah.
The sticking point.
Yeah, titles are a big deal. Is it okay to walk us through a little bit about your process when you were writing the book and why you wanted to write it and what it's really about?
Absolutely. So it's broken up into two parts. First part is how you got to where you are, and then how to get to where you want to go.
Okay.
Really simple.
Yep.
So,
Past and future.
Absolutely. And I think we can look at a lot of things in life that way, right? We go, what shaped me from what I'm doing, how I got to where I am today? How does that make me who I am? And who do I see who I want to become down the road, and what will it take to get there? So I had a meeting today and with a business owner, and we had set some goals a year ago. And so I said, let's go back and look at phone photos of whiteboard sessions from a year and look at all these goals and metrics and things that were planned. And I said, so what do you think about that? And he was like, well, I thought I'd be a lot further down the road. And so I said, well, the only thing we can do today is take that historical knowledge, learn from that, improve, and make a difference for tomorrow. And Jeremy and I were just having a conversation this past week, and I said, ultimately a lot of people have tons of goals. Maybe it's monetary or spiritual or whatever they may be. And I told him, I said, really my goal every single day is if I wake up and I just try to be the best version of me every single day, then I know that I'll have everything out of life that I want.
I just try to wake up.
Sometimes that's tough.
I'm awake.
But how often, or how I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but if you're sitting there in the present, analyzing the past and trying to shape the future, when do you ever just in the moment, do it, quit thinking about the future, quit thinking about the past, and just get shit done?
Well, I think it's a healthy balance between doing and planning.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times in our life we don't plan,
right,
and then we fail. Because we do so much, right?
Yeah.
We do. I call it, and maybe you can correct me, I call it like pausing or checking out. We check out too often. And it's because we go to work all day, we leave work, we go home, we kind of do our dinner with the family or dinner, we watch TV, we go to bed. We check out. But I have a principle every single day. So I think there's really three pieces that make us who we are, and that's really mind, that's body, and soul. Really, we all have intellect, we all have a soul, we have feelings, and we all have a physical presence and body that we deal with. So on a daily basis, my goal is to do something great for my body, whether that's eat good or work out, right? Do something great for my mind. I need to be learning, listening, watching this podcast, listening to it, learning something, taking that and applying it to my life. Warren Buffett says, knowledge is power. I sort of disagree because it's only powerful if you apply it. What makes him great is he actually takes that knowledge and he applies it. A lot of people read a lot, learn a lot, they never do anything with it.
Right.
There's no power there, right? It's like yielding a weapon that you never use. And then there would be the soul side, so the feeling side. We all need to be touched emotionally in some point. Maybe that's a relationship or religiously. Or there's a lot of different ways that can happen, but we really need to tune in. I know I have some friends that do like really great meditation every day, and it's just like listening to breathing, like really not tapping into anything except yourself.
Yep.
And I think it helps centers you. And by looking at those three things every single day, it's helping you become the best version of you that ultimately can achieve whatever you want. But I believe that if you don't tap into all three, then no, you will not have what you want. And you will end up at a certain place down the road in life saying, I wish I could have, or I wish I would have. I don't live my life that way.
Good. So you have to really utilize the time that you have to do that. So time management, how big of an importance is that when you're trying to make your body, mind, and soul better each day?
So I'd say systems.
Systems.
I think our bodies like systems. Like routine.
Yeah.
So I think there's a balance between routine and monotonous, and then routine and exploratory.
Yeah.
Because I think our bodies need rest, right?
Right.
It needs a certain amount of time to get into REM. And so we can learn from just our anatomy that we like systems. So
right.
I can tell you that my system of getting ready in the morning takes me 32 minutes.
See, and that's crazy because, like, after a certain numbers of time, you start waking. Your eternal clock starts clicking on all cylinders, and you need an alarm clock anymore.
Yep.
You said that the other day. You're like, I don't even need an alarm clock. I wake up 5 minutes before my alarm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your body knows you need systems. So I'd say take that same mentality and apply that to the rest of your life, right? The rest of your day. The 24 hours that you have, right? Just plan it out for fun.
But I think it's very important to emphasize what you said. There's a difference between routine of monotony and routine of what was the other? Experimental. So let's talk about that because I fall victim to this too. I'm like, I don't want routine, so I'll disrupt that time and I'll stay up until 1 a.m. just because I don't want to get stuck in a routine because the only thing that I have learned through my life is routine. It can be a big downfall to you executing on what you want to do. I haven't really looked at the beneficial aspects of the routine, so
I would say it's going to come down to a priority standpoint at some point as well, because what a lot of people will mention, I don't have the time for X, Y, Z, whatever that might be, and the routine thing we're going to get to, because I have a very, very specific routine as well, and the monotony, like I said, that balance is crucial, but the priority is where most people fall short, is they prioritize the wrong things. They prioritize going to work, or they prioritize coming home from work or going to work. That's kind of like their day. Their focus is, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to come back from work, I'm going to be at work. And if you have a full-time job, there's nothing wrong with that, but what if you prioritize like 5 or 6 other things in your life, like spending time with your family, number one, spending time with your creator or whatever your religious beliefs is, or your meditation or whatever feels good for your soul, number 2, your food for yourself, number 3, like you prioritize and you go, then I'll go to work and I'll be the best version of me when I'm there, and naturally you'll get a pay raise and things of that nature. The structure of a routine can become so incredible that you start, when you get really good at it, like I said, if it takes 32 minutes for him to get ready for morning work, on his drive, he's going to listen to audiobooks, he's going to do whatever. For me, and a lot of other people, when you have a system, what happens is you start getting so good, the time actually starts shrinking. So if you're working out, for example, high interval training, HIIT training, you can get a workout done in like 20 minutes that's good for the entire day. And then if you do that more and more and more, you actually probably knock it out in about 15 minutes or 13 minutes. And so that's a whole 7 minutes that you just saved from getting better at that routine. And
so you become more efficient.
You become more efficient, exactly. So when you're doing the routine, yes, it can be boring, but what you will absolutely accomplish is shaving off time in other aspects, and you will find yourself having so much time you don't know what to do with it. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, I say plan to not plan.
Yeah.
You both just lost me. Because you just said you're going to have more time than you know what to do with, but it sounds like when I'm thinking about, okay, so now I have this driving to work, right? Mm-hmm. So how do I become more efficient with that 15 minutes? I'm going to listen to a podcast, maybe make a phone call, spend 5 minutes just in silence, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So then you start structuring, and I'm getting down. If you're down to like the minute, 32 minutes, you become more efficient in that process, but then you can try to get more and more efficient in that 32 minutes. How can I become better? How can I work out more my mind, my body, my soul in that time frame? I feel like you lose time when you become more set in this routine.
I don't know. A friend of mine calls it gaining minutes. So I think when you become efficient in those things, it allows room for, I call a pause. So when I say plan to not plan, means I plan so well, now I have enough extra time per se that I can now do whatever I want. So maybe you go, everything else is blocked so well. So I block every part of my day in my calendar. I go back at the end of every day and I block off in 5 to 15 minute chunks what I did in my day to see how well I used my time, how well I stewarded my time, because that's what I have. And then if I got things done quicker, that gives me an extra 2 hours to decide whether I want to do that in several different ways. Maybe I just want to waste time and watch a show. Because you know what, I was so efficient throughout the day.
You can relax.
I have an hour that I probably wouldn't have had because I was spending on other things. Now I can just go relax, or whatever that may look like, and it's different for everybody. But I think when you don't actually plan on the front end, it causes a lot of wastefulness on the back end, where people are, man, what happened to this month? I can actually tell you what happened to my month.
March was great. March was a great month.
And I think that happens, the one thing this is how I equate this, which is really great, is that if at the end of the month you look at your bank account and you're like, I have $100, the one thing that is very cool that you can do is you can go back and look at your ledger of your bank account and know how you ended up with $100. Can you do that with the time that you have?
Ledger of time. No, I don't have a ledger of time. And you're saying I should. You do, because you can go through your monthly calendar and tell where were you at. 10:30, March 17th.
The best thing we have of a ledger of time is our photo stream in our phone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That or text messages.
Yeah, so if you want to go look at something, remember that moment, right? Facebook's genius because they said, I can show you last year
Timeline.
In a picture, right?
Yeah.
That's a terrible recollection of your time when you think about it. So what if I just showed you things that you purchased over the past year? That doesn't give you a really good picture of where your bank account is or how much you're saving or investing, right? Or what your balance is. The only thing that we have that's equal with everybody else in the world is the same amount of time.
Right.
24 hours. But for some reason, nobody tracks that.
How much did you go into the history of time in your book? Like, why is it 24 hours?
Good question.
Why is it 60 seconds?
We do talk about the 24-hour clock to an extent and how time is derived, but the goal is not to focus so much on time itself, but what we do with it.
Got it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say what's interesting is too at the same situation. I mean, time is a concept created by man, right? Like you were mentioning, like why is it that it's in 60-second increments,
right,
or hour increments, or 24-hour period? I mean, it has a lot to do with the astronomy, the sun,
right,
the stars, the moon, all that. But I mean, the Gregorian calendar, what we're off from now, was just a very small change from the Roman calendar. That only shaved off like seconds, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, from the leap year, things of that nature, and it's a little bit more accurate. But I mean, there are other cultures that have entirely different calendars,
right, which is insane to me.
Yeah, which is like China, the Chinese New Year. I mean, they have almost an entirely different method of keeping track, and they almost do it like in two different ways. They go, okay, here's the Western world, and this is what their time on. This is their New Year, and this is what ours is. And then you have Jewish calendars, Jewish dates, Hebrew. A lot of Middle Eastern different cultures will have entirely different calendars and months and days.
The calendar that we're on now is derived from the Roman Empire. I'm assuming it's more Christian based.
Well, 100%, because literally everything we do is Christian based as far as time goes. I mean, if you think we're in 2018 AD.
Mm-hmm.
After you have BCE, BC. I mean, all that is literally Christian-based, time-oriented, which is just an interesting proponent to think about. That all of this, what we're living in, is still a human construct.
Right.
And the best way to, I think, explore that is like we're discussing, is having some type of priority schedule where you go, this is exactly what I'm doing. This is the time that I'm going to do it, and when I'm there, I'm going to do my absolute best, as you mentioned, to make it as efficient as possible, so that, and you can schedule time in your day where there's nothing going on. Right?
Yeah, well, why would you want to schedule something in your calendar that isn't, I don't want to say fun, but isn't positive for your life? Like if you're not, I enjoy going to business meetings, things of that nature, but if you're not going to do something that isn't beneficial to your overall positivity of life, why the hell would you schedule it?
It could be a nap.
A nap?
Yeah, you can schedule naps. I've scheduled many a naps.
So on that note, Daniel Pink his newest book's called When, and it's the science of time, but the difference between that and my book is it actually breaks down how people relate to time. So the 24-hour clock, and then how we as people function within that 24 hours. And he really dives into topics of night owls or larks, or what they call like early birds, you know.
Which is interesting.
Which is very interesting, and a lot of that is how your body functions around time, not necessarily how time functions around you.
That's your circadian rhythm, correct?
Correct. So I think it's also important to know, and he says this in his book, that even like napping, there's been tons of research to go that a nap should last between 10 minutes and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you should actually drink a cup of coffee before your nap, because it actually takes 20 minutes for that caffeine to actually kick in and affect your brain to give you a boost of energy. So he says, I'll drink a cup of coffee, slam a cup of coffee, take a 20-minute nap, and I get up and I'm ready to go. And there's so much science that actually proves that that's good for you. You're more productive afterwards. So even to double click in, I would say that would be Daniel Pink's book, is to go, I like to look at time over a spectrum,
right,
and where you want to go. He's looking at time today, 24 hours, and how our bodies fit within that. So I would venture to say, if you are an early morning person and you're most productive when you wake up to noon, then what are you doing that's so impactful in those 4 or 5 hours that literally compound your day?
Yeah.
And I would say most people don't look at it that way.
I don't want to tangent line off from our conversation too much now, but obviously we know how important sleep is, and we're talking about, a 20-minute nap. You're not hitting REM there.
No.
And I don't know, Donald Trump says that he sleeps 4 hours a night. I don't know if that's true or not, but I believe you need at least 6 to 8 hours to get a healthy, good REM sleep, recharge your battery. But, the time's not existent when you're sleeping. Is it, or is it not?
It is.
It is?
Your heart still beats, right?
Yeah.
The world still turns, gravity happens, right?
It's still there.
Time is what we've created, what we've encapsulated with breaths of air.
Nice.
So think about
Good
it.
definition.
If there was no humans on the earth, would time really exist?
I don't know.
Maybe not.
Does a tree make a sound when it falls in the woods and no one's around?
Great point. But us as
I
humans...
think it's all perception.
Right, we talk about time because we find a way to encapsulate the breaths of air that we take. Because we have to find some way to take our life and our experiences and who we are, and we have to frame it somehow.
So do you think it's a way, you think time became a concept for us to value and devalue experiences in life, or just life in general?
Good question.
I would agree. So animals that don't experience emotion the way we do, does time really exist for them?
Or are they conscious of it?
Correct, yeah.
Because
they do get older and experience things. They don't experience time the way we do. They obviously don't talk about that because we have this consciousness of
to
time.
our knowledge, they don't talk about it.
Correct. We don't know. Sorry.
I'm just throwing
I
that
want
out.
to get hammered about that later.
Don't offend anybody.
I should get Animal as our next guest.
But think about that. I mean, when I think some of the most popular topics around time deal with death. Because that's when we have the moment to look backwards and take every breath of air that we had and analyze it for the good and the bad. We normally don't do that at birth, right?
Right.
Because there's nothing to analyze.
Yeah.
Right.
But we do that at the end of life. And my book, right, really has that Steve Jobs quote. I mean, one of the most influential people in today's age, very wealthy, powerful person. And he states that he wished he would have spent more time with his family and these things, right? That's the one thing he'd have gone back and changed.
Yeah. So I just turned 30.
Yeah, big man.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of marriage.
Big man.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of looking at my life and going back and analyzing it. But I am someone who's very conscious and aware of what have I done with my time and what am I going to do. 30 years old is pretty old. I'm thinking like,
You're old.
I haven't done enough in my life
I agree.
at where I'm at now, and I'm not satisfied with what I've done from a career perspective, but also from a adventurous perspective. Now, the whole marriage life is great, and that's been fantastic. It feels like we've been married for 5 years, which is like we're killing it. We're really making experiences. But just becoming more efficient. We talked about a routine, creating a routine, but detailing that routine, creating more time for yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
What are some other ways we can be more efficient with our time, other than just being aware of it and creating a routine?
That's a really good question. So my overall thought process in that is trying to figure out what you can do, the things that you may or may not enjoy in life, what you can do faster. So for me, this is going to sound really crazy, but as far as food goes, I don't have any sense of smell, so my taste is dropped dramatically.
Crush food.
Yeah, so I'll crush food. I'll eat within 10 minutes, just about anything. I eat pretty healthy, I would argue, but it doesn't really have to be seasoned. I can't really tell. Yeah, so I just throw it in there, eat. So I eat within 10 minutes every day. So I usually forget to eat most days. And so I don't really schedule food. Food to me is just a natural, recurring thing, which is quick. Now, some people spend a lot of time on food, which is fine, right? He does.
I love
and
food.
that's absolutely okay.
I enjoy it.
That's absolutely okay, but he schedules his day around that, right? Mm-hmm. So another thing
is something you enjoy, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So you have to schedule a large amount of time around something that you really like, and things that you don't like as much, schedule it less. But what that comes down to is understanding the value of your time. So what most people don't do is I apologize. What most people do is they mention, this is how much I should get paid at work per hour. But they don't factor in any other part of their day. They just say, while I'm at work. Yeah. They forget that there's 24 hours in the day. So what you should do is, how much do you make, and divide that by 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and figure out how much are you actually getting paid an hour. Because what most people, when they work, they stop working and they forget that their time is still valuable. So that in order to make your time more efficient, you end up having to realize how valuable your time is. And when you start doing that, you're going to start understanding that I shouldn't even be spending time doing this. Like if you're at work and you're like, man, I hate doing emails, but I spend 3 hours a day doing emails, then hire someone to do your emails for you. Because if you're thinking to yourself, I was like, oh, I don't like doing emails. But if I spend money, then my income's going to go down. That's what most people think. They forget the other part of the formula. There's two formulas.
Right.
If you spend money on something to make you more efficient, the value of your time goes up because you get more time. So you're spending money for your time. So I encourage a lot of my consultants and clients, and same with you. It's like, how can you take the mundane things out of your life that you don't like doing and pay someone else to do those? Because there's someone that needs that money that's totally fine with that job, and maybe they actually like doing it. You're depriving them of doing something that they really like doing. They want to get paid for it.
Right.
You know. So for one of my things is I always want to have a personal chef. Right now I have a personal chef, and she's phenomenal. She is. She's incredible.
So
she's incredible,
amazing.
dude. Yeah, she's like, she preps it like 3 or 4 times a week, puts it in the fridge. I show up, there it is, boom, I eat it. Move on. Like it's incredible. So I always want to have a personal chef.
Move on.
Wow.
You didn't move on. That's me though. But
that's so good.
In the same situation, I always want to have a personal driver. I've always wanted someone to drive me around. You know, so that I don't like driving. I don't like traffic lines. I don't like being in front of like lights or whatever. So what you do is you have to value your time, and that will make it more efficient. Because if you do a little bit of math, most people just don't do math. Take some math and figure out how much time do you waste on doing things you don't like doing. How much are you worth? How much do you want to be worth? And cut all that time out. Just go hire an assistant, an intern, someone to do that for you, and then go do things that you're amazing at. Because like a baseball player or anyone playing sports, they get paid drastic sums of money for a very short window of actual time. Mm-hmm. Because what they've done is they've focused in on something that they do incredibly well and have mastered it.
Right.
And everything else in life, they just have someone else handle for them.
I also think there comes a point in time when it becomes a necessity.
Yeah.
So if you like, let's say you start a business and it's a one-man crew and you're killing it, but some of those things are becoming so time-consuming that you have to start delegating so you can take on more work.
I know. I'm in the middle of creating. So I own a domain name called scaleyourbusiness.com.
Okay.
And the whole principle is this membership concept of, I'm going to teach you how to scale your business to where you don't have to be in your business. So what if you had a business and it ran and paid you and you didn't have to
Are you talking about automation, or are you talking about delegation?
Delegation. But you build systems, you intentionally build a business to where it works for you and pays you, and you have all the time. Now, there's some sacrifice on the front end, right? But sure. I would say most, sole proprietors or very small business owners, 3 or 4 employees, still have to work in that business to generate revenue for themselves personally.
Sure.
But what if you could work it in such a way to where you eventually didn't have to be in the business, but yet it still pays?
So what are some of these things that come along with this membership?
Ooh.
Can you not? I don't like...
Jeremy looked at me because I just told him, I'm like, listen, so this is what I do every day. I go into businesses and I pretty much consult and say, what can you do to scale your company to where it doesn't rely just on you, but it relies on a team, and the company is valuable because it's a system.
Can you give us a case study without saying any names or anything? Do you have any interesting recent clients?
Oh, there's lots, but I would say, the typical example is that you have this really empowered entrepreneur and they start up a business. I put them on one of two sides. They're either a salesperson or they're an operations person.
Why not? Why those two?
I think it's because of maybe how they're wired personality, left brain, right brain, right? They're driven, they're like high D on a personality profile, like a DISC test. They're a driver, I call them mover shakers. They sell, they want to get results, right? But a lot of times they're really bad on the systems operational side, right? So a lot of times they'll be the only salesperson and they have a whole team of people doing operations because they're like, I don't like operations, I need people to do that. But I'll sell because I love that. That is not good.
How is that not good?
Because the thing is
because if they're not selling, who is?
The company is only as valuable as the salesperson.
Yeah.
But if the salesperson had 4 other salespeople that were generating the majority of income, and that person's just overseeing them, you created a system.
So come up here, let's get 4 guys over here, 4 guys in operations, and you just manage all of it.
Correct. Or eventually then you hire somebody to manage it and you leave.
Yes.
Boom. So the challenge that most people, the hard leap, the really scary part of that formula is the part where they go, all right, I need to hire another salesperson in order to take over that role. And in doing so, they have to spend more time in teaching, well, not necessarily because they can hire other people, but that's a 40-minute conversation. Yeah, but the point is, most people get scared by hiring someone else because, as I mentioned, they only think on the side of, my money will go down if I hire people.
Right.
And I would say that's true.
It is.
It's a short-term,
very short-term dip.
This J-curve effect, right? In private equity, we call it a J-curve. Hockey stick. Sacrifice a few years of sleeping on a couch, eating peanut butter sandwiches to be independently wealthy.
Right.
Over the life of your time. If you have time, read the book, The Airbnb Story. It's very interesting how Brian Chesky and his 2 business partners really started Airbnb. They bootstrapped that thing from the beginning.
I thought you said booze-trap. I'm like, booze-trap.
They bootstrapped. They sacrificed.
I'll booze-trap.
They made it happen. They sacrificed for years. People only like to see them now because they're this billion-dollar business.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't really want to go back and look at what it took on the front end. They built a system. Airbnb would exist without any of the 3 founders today.
Yeah.
It would, because they built a system. They didn't build a business based around a person, and that's what most companies do.
You gotta build the system. So you really have to detach if you're the entrepreneur or CEO, right, you really have to detach your personal emotion
and investment into it,
and emotional investment into it, and create something that is for everyone, and not so much, this is how I run it and this is how I do things.
Bingo. Because there's a saying, I forget who said it might have been Mark Cuban, but he said, are you an entrepreneur or are you an artist? Meaning, a lot of artists will create something, but they'll be so emotionally invested in it, they don't want to let it go, they want to hold on to it. But an entrepreneur is someone who will build a system and then sell it. No
Guys,
problem.
I'm learning a lot from you two today. This is good.
Woo!
Because I feel like, because I've
You built businesses, yeah.
But I've really been, I can admit when I'm wrong, but I'm definitely more of an artist, and I like holding on to the control.
That's okay.
And I like, hey, here's how you do things. And I'm trying to sit here myself. Am I the sales guy or am I the operation guy?
100% the operation guy.
That's what I was going to say. 100%. I don't think I'm a big sales guy.
No, 0.
I can sell when I need to, but I don't like to.
Which is fine. But again, that's personality, right? Me and John work pretty well because we kind of bounce back and forth. But I mean, in the same instance, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, anything that you build, I love that you shared that with us because, yeah, as an artist, it's like you want to, like a Picasso, he didn't want to sell his paintings for the longest time. Like, this is so good, you don't value it. And then he dies. Yep. You know.
I think that's. I need to see. I'm learning a lot from you.
Hey, cool, man.
You're creating brave lanes for
me. We always learn tons, man. That's what I love about this podcast. It's fantastic.
I will say this. No, I forgot what I was going to say.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Well, what I can mention and kind of wrap all of this up is what most people have done in the past, present, and going into the future is we need to value our time more. I worked with a gentleman yesterday from the Ivory Coast. He came here 8 years ago to the U.S. and he's like, I want to make more money. I want to trade the stock market. I want to be financially independent. I was like, that's fantastic, man. I mean, everyone wants that. So I was like, let me just ask you the most simple, basic question. How much are you worth? He didn't know. He was like, oh no, I've never thought about it. And I was like, well, here's the deal, is if you don't know how much you would pay you, then the universe or anyone else out there is going to pay you whatever, and you're not going to know if that's good or bad. I was like, you got to have a line in the sand where you know I'm at least worth this much. And he goes, well, how do you pick that price? It's like, that's a good question. It's a very valid question. I was like, quickest way is how much do you want to make in a year, and then divide that by how many hours there are in a year. And that's your hourly wage. And that's how much you should be making every hour of your entire day. Now, if you only work part-time or full-time, then you can collapse that if you want.
Right.
And so he wanted to make $100,000 a year, which I was like, absolutely, why not?
What does that come out towards?
$48 an hour.
$48 an hour.
Working full-time, 40 hours a week for 52 weeks a year. I was like, that's $48 an hour. And he told me, he's like, I've never thought about that before. I was like, so now, anytime you take a job or anytime you're making a request, you now have a line in the sand that you know your value. So I mean, would you agree that's at least a way to get a base standpoint of now I won't accept anything less than this unless absolutely is required of you. But that's usually a good goal, is to value your time more than money. Have your time as the number one asset that you own.
For sure. And
everything else besides that, you start taking it away.
For sure. I do remember my point. I have seen in the past year or two these content creators, people who are making, whether it's podcasts or YouTube videos, Instagram, like the social media storm is like
amazing,
perfect right now, right?
Amazing.
And the amount of people creating that content are just killing it. But some people have had, we were talking about the Airbnb bootstrap story, but some of these content creators have only worked like a couple years and really have started from nothing. With the camera, and now they are just destroying it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go. I don't want to go down a blockchain conversation at all. But remember DTube?
No.
DTube.
Oh yes.
It's like a YouTube, but instead of getting thumbs up, every time someone clicks like, you get a little like price incentive.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can put out a video, you can be making hundreds of bucks for that video depending on how well it is.
Yeah.
But I do find that eventually in the near future, what we're doing with our time to make this place better, not only ourselves better, but this place better, creating something, whether it's a business or a piece of art, we will start to be rewarded, I think, at a more appropriate rate than what we have been. Because if we watched a lot of, like, I think in the 80s and 90s, people, these high-end executives who aren't doing shit, were getting paid obscene amounts of money. And if we look at the banking system, I don't want to talk about that either, but there are some people who I don't think have been, who I think are overpriced. And I think that price correction is happening. Human capital is starting to be, I think, well represented here in the near future.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Human capital. I mean, there's going to be a shift, and we've talked about that actually before. Is the shift towards the future? If it goes to automation or AI or robotics, you're going to have a shift of people are going to value what robots potentially can't do, which is a lot of the creative side. I mean, again, maybe they are going to build robots that can produce music. I mean, you can or create videos or create content, but at some point in the near future, let's say the next 100 years, I don't see a robot doing what we're doing right now.
Correct.
And for the long period of time, you're going to have people that their goal is to enrich lives, to create brain waves, to sit people together like minds, create a collective consciousness, and slowly get better over time. And I don't think robots are ever going to be able to do that, at least for a long, long time. But that's something that you're absolutely right, man. That's going to be the future of wealth generation, is just pure knowledge and a collective idea stream.
What's the name of the website that you're launching?
ScaleYourBusiness.com.
ScaleYourBusiness.com. Membership fee.
It's going to be
residuals,
powerful.
It's going to be very powerful. I'm
And
ready for
your
it.
book that doesn't have a title is sitting there waiting to be released to the public.
The world is,
Anticipation.
I have my palms open, but when it comes out, when it launches, folks, we'll make sure we let you know. We're going to have other great guests coming on. This is the third time for Mr. Michael Shaun Bennett to be here, and it will not be his last.
He's a regular.
This is me at my happy place between two of my best friends, so it's a great day
So
for me.
good.
Hope it's been a great day for you. Folks from around the world, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to love, live, learn. You guys are amazing. We'll see you later. Bye.